Hello, everybody, and welcome. We're very glad to have everybody joining us here today for another great CXplained event. Let's see who we have here joining us today in the chat. Let us know where you're tuning in from, and maybe the company that you're supporting and the role that you have. Let's see some good responses here in the chat this morning. Buenos Aires, Charlotte, North Carolina, Berlin. I've always wanted to go to Berlin. It's on my list. Croatia, definitely on my list. Super cool. Sri Lanka, awesome. Well, as you guys all know by now, my name is Garrett. I am a partnership manager over here at TalentPop, and I will be moderating today's CXplained panel on what customers are supposed to be expecting in 2026. We're very excited to have everybody here. Again, we host these conversations monthly, so obviously feel free to jump into any of these fantastic conversations. We usually have great leaders who are jumping in with on-the-ground experience. Obviously, Daria will drop a link in the chat here to join our CXplained community as well, another place that you can meet with amazing people just like this. Today's conversation will be exploring a little bit more about what to expect in e-commerce and how those expectations are evolving in speed, personalization, human connection, you could only imagine. And we're very excited to paint a clear picture here for you guys today. If you guys are ready, let's go ahead and see some lightning bolts in the chat. This is one of my favorite things that we get to do over here, get the chat fired up. And while you guys are doing that, I'm going to go ahead and share one of our audit options so that you guys can jump in here and get a free CX audit as well if you're interested. Something that's very exciting for Talent Pop. And also, we can win some gift cards as well. $75 Uber Eats. That's a good amount of food. I don't know about you guys, but I could definitely not take down $75 worth of food in one sitting, but maybe somebody could. And obviously a Viore gift card from the amazing people over at ShipBob. So I'll give you a couple minutes here. Make sure to scan the QR code, and we will jump into introductions in a few seconds. Awesome. We will show this again here in a few minutes. So if you missed it, don't worry. You will have another opportunity to jump in and obviously scan for that CX audit from us. Well, without further ado, I think we should introduce the main people of this event here today, and that's going to be some of our panelists. I want to go ahead and start with, let's have Natalie introduce herself first.
Yes, honored to be going first. Thanks, Garrett. Hey, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. My name is Natalie Barton. I've been at Gorgias for 4.5 years, currently a partner manager. TLDR about us, but trust me, you'll hear all about it by the end of the session. We are a customer support help desk and AI platform specifically for ecom. So anybody in ecom, but Shopify specifically, here's looking at you and happy to chat more. Thanks for letting me join.
Very cool. Always excited to have you, Natalie. Let's kick it over to Nigel to introduce himself.
Hey everyone, I'm Nigel. I'm the head of partnerships here at Consio. Consio is an AI phone platform built for e-commerce brands. So we help brands open a support and sales channel without the traditional operational overhead. So deploying voice AI agents that can answer customer questions, send helpful links via SMS, and also escalate to humans when needed. Then we also enable CX teams to do outbound customer support to key segments like checkout abandoners, churn subscribers, and start to put some revenue on the board. So thrilled to be here with everyone and chatting on this panel today.
Awesome. Very excited to have you, Nigel. Thanks for joining us today. Let's kick it over to Heidi.
Hi everyone. Love the lightning bolts and the energy in the chat. Always gets the people going. But I am Heidi. I'm calling from the very rainy and cold Chicago. I've been with ShipBob for 5.5 years, and I'm a senior partner manager over here, overseeing our technology partners and agency partners. So very excited to be chatting with you. To give you a little tidbit about ShipBob, we're a tech-enabled fulfillment partner empowering e-commerce brands throughout our 60 plus locations across the globe, just helping them to scale smarter and scale faster.
Awesome. Very cool. Thank you, Heidi. And last but not least, let's kick it over to Andrew.
What's up, Garrett? Good to see you, man. Hey guys, my name is Andrew. I'm the director of team operations here at TalentPop. See a lot of familiar faces on this panel today, which is great. And yeah, just really excited to be on this panel. I've been with TalentPop for about 4.5 years now. When I first came in, I was acting as a customer success manager for the first 2 years. I've worked pretty closely with Natalie in a previous life, so that was a fun time. And I've been the acting director of team operations for about 2.5 years now, and really just focused on working closely with our different teams, different departments to figure out how we can always improve operational efficiency internally for our clients, all the above. So, yeah, just a little bit about me.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Andrew, for wrapping us up there. Exciting. Again, very lucky to have all of these panelists. They take a bunch of time out of their day to come over here and chat with you guys, give you guys kind of an inside scoop on what CX looks like from truly a bunch of different critical angles. So we're very excited to have everybody here today, learning a little bit more about faster support, obviously smarter fulfillment for ShipBob, real-time voice conversations from Consio, and then also kind of the help desk automation piece again from Natalie over at Gorgias. Super excited to jump in here. I'll keep us moving so we can cover a good amount of ground here today. But again, big thing that we love to do over here at TalentPop and these CXplained webinars is feel free to drop your questions in the chat. We're definitely going to go through these and try to get as many answered as possible. We know you guys have great questions. So again, feel free to drop those below. Awesome. I'm excited to jump in here a little bit to our first question, and I'm going to kick it over to our panelist here. First question of the day. So, looking at your customers today compared to a few years ago, what are they specifically looking for now when they adopt your tools or services? How has this changed from previous years? And what does this tell you about the direction e-commerce is heading this year?
Good question. I can get things kicked off for us if I can. I know from our perspective, a lot of the brands we're working with here in 2026 are really trying to move past just simple customer support, the normal things that we've seen in previous years, where it's a lot of reactivity. We always hear that word proactivity, and I think brands are always trying to become more mindful on how you can be more proactive and making sure customers don't have issues when they first receive a product or they're first using a new product. Outside of that, too, a big shift that we're seeing is brands really doing things to help shift to drive revenue, which I'm sure that Nigel will get heavily into in a little bit, too. They got a really cool product over at Consio. And we've just seen a lot of shift from brands trying to put team members in positions where they can actually not only support with CX, but also support in trying to help that customer make a final purchasing decision that is going to be the right decision for them. I know it's something that we do with a lot of brands that we're working with right now. We made a really big push in 2025 and 2026 on it. It's our brand concierge service offering. And it's really successful. We've seen a lot of brands take advantage of it and find success with it. And I'd say from my perspective, that's probably one of the largest shifts so far that I've been seeing at the beginning of this year.
Yeah, I think I can jump in and elaborate a little bit on where Andrew was going with that. Andrew, it's almost like you stole my notes before this panel. But I would say like the shift a few years ago, like the main goal in customer support is all about efficiency. So like how do we reduce tickets? How do we deflect as many tickets as we can and shorten our handle time? So thanks to like help desk automation, like our friends at Gorgias are providing, a lot of that is now becoming almost table stakes, especially if you're using like some of the top of the line tools in ticket automation. So what we're seeing now is like a shift, like Andrew mentioned, from pure efficiency to revenue impact from CX. So if you've just automated a good chunk of your tickets, instead of asking, okay, like how do we reduce headcount in our support team and how do we, reduce the expense related to support, they're starting to ask a different question, which is more like where do we allocate our team to create revenue impact and positive ROI? So with automation freeing up capacity, the best brands are reinvesting in being available everywhere where customers expect them, and being able to, again, help guide purchasing decisions. So usually in two ways. Like first, if you're automating a lot of your email and chat support, opening up new support channels like a phone line so customers can reach your brand whatever way feels most natural. Many buyers will still like turn away from websites that don't offer phone support, especially for higher consideration purchases. And then the phone number itself becomes a trust signal. Whether they purchase or not, just seeing the phone number there can help improve your conversion rate. We actually had one customer that came to Consio after they A/B tested putting a phone number visible on their website, and they saw a meaningful lift in conversion, like before they even optimized the call experience itself. Secondly, opening up new revenue channels, like reaching checkout abandoners, churn subscribers, or customers who may need help otherwise before they drop off and don't complete their purchase. So we're seeing brands with like one or two support agents reallocated to outbound, attributing over like $100,000 a month in sales from one or two support agents reallocated to a more revenue position.
I can jump in here for a hot second. Um, yeah, my mom is a phone person. I was gonna say dead on, Nigel. At least for her. Kind of I'm turning into that person, but we won't get into that psych. But I do agree at this point in terms of how it's been for Gorgias. If your help desk or where you're having all of your communications are not all talking to each other and all in the same place, is kind of giving very bare minimum at this point. And years ago, that was enough because that was so revolutionary at the time. But now it's like, okay, you have all of this data. How are you actually using it? So people are asking, okay, you have all of this. What can you do with it though? Can you make it recurring revenue? Can you help maybe mitigate returns or like the tricky kind of pre-sale questions that maybe nobody's online to answer? So before, just to have all of these things talking to each other at Gorgias was so great and wonderful, and it still is, but a lot more is being expected. And to me, it goes really hand in hand with like, okay, yeah, AI is doing like these low lift tickets. AI, the word of the term of the call, I'm sure I'll definitely say it. So don't kill me, don't shoot the messenger, guys. But even like with AI now, wonderful does the low hanging tickets, but also so much more is expected of your actual agents on your team because they're not just kind of answering these repetitive things. They're true members of the team in the sense that they're doing projects and investigations that are going to only move the brand forward. So we've locked in like the bare minimum requirements that an actual brand company needs to function well and efficiently. Now it's just everything is being multiplied because we have everything at our disposal. It's just a matter of how we're making the most of it. And that was not being looked at as aggressively many years ago.
And I can kind of round us out from a different perspective here. Of course, it looks a little bit different, but there's still very much so contrast in what these folks are saying. But I think from ShipBob's perspective, a lot of brands are kind of shifting from like the cost cutting at all costs mentality to there's very much still, cost cutting in mind. Don't shoot the messenger there as well. But they're kind of shifting that mentality to like the profitable growth with control mentality, which I think is really interesting. So what we're seeing is they're prioritizing a lot of the, resilience and baking flexibility into their supply chain model, and that's, through diversified carriers, fulfillment options, proactive CX, and automated inventory decisions. And that's all in all to improve those margins and to reduce the friction for customers. So the direction of e-commerce for us is very experience-led, similar to what these folks were saying, but it's fueled by the data for us, where speed, personalization, and better margins can kind of coexist with one another.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think these are all great perspectives. And I think the big thing that we all are going to focus on more and more is how is this influencing what's going to change in e-commerce, right? I think with all of these different expectations and what people are looking to see out of their products and their tech and all of these different things, we know that the expectation for e-commerce and the kind of the experience of e-commerce is going to change quite a bit. So I'm excited to dive in a little bit more and just see how you guys are kind of evolving, right? How are you guys finding different ways to speak to these customers when those expectations change? So I'll kind of honestly start us off, Natalie. I'll come to you first. I guess as we look ahead at 2026, I know Gorgeous it's kind of big focus in terms of product roadmap, what that may look like. I guess what new features or advancements are you kind of planning to be able to combat some of these changes and shifts? Obviously, number one, addressing your customers' demands and speed and personalization, but also how do you expect these to change your influence with customer CX strategies, I guess, throughout the rest of the year?
Happy to take this one on. So for Gorgeous specifically, AI, I know, but it's good. So hear me out. Give me a second here with the buzzword of maybe the next decade. We're putting a lot of money and time into it. It exists. We made it. If you're like Natalie or Gorgeous Count already has AI agent, wonderful. We are so not done with that. We're basically reiterating on that. And what we've done, what we've started laying a lot of the groundwork for is having really heavy merchant panels and having them really get involved in product creation very early on, way before we even do beta testing and look for people like that. So, for example, this got rolled out recently, and another iteration is coming out before the end of the quarter. So, knock on wood, I did not jinx that. But we were getting a lot of feedback specifically about how hard it to live real time edit the actual AI agent responses that are being sent. So originally, when Gorgeous AI agent came out, you would see a response that maybe you didn't love, you thumbs it down, and then you had to go to the actual settings page, tweak the actual guidance it came from, make sure that it reflects properly, see what weird little hang up thing it got caught on, and then go back to the ticket and wait to see how that would roll again. We have basically one huge kind of headquarter now to the right of every ticket, and the data that it gives you has grown exponentially. So it's telling you line by line where it got that response from, what source it was. You can fix it in real time. None of this like QAing for later when the team might not have that bandwidth. So we're putting a lot of our time and resources into making the AI really easy to upkeep. So it feels like a human agent in the same way. If I was new at a company and you're like, hey, that policy actually phased out or it expired last quarter, make a note we don't do that anymore. We want talking and working with the AI to feel the same. So this kind of like new kind of headquarters, as I'm calling it, to the right-hand side, to the right panel of the ticket is kind of our newest baby, just making it as easy as possible. It even is giving recommendations like, hey, looks like this clashes with this guidance. We didn't send anything because it might be misleading. So the whole idea is that we're putting a lot of our time and resources into making our AI tool feel like a legitimate human team member. So that is kind of a little, I guess, preview of what we just launched. It's going to be, kind of obviously getting better. We're trying to do this mix of obviously we want the AI to be something that your team relies on, but we're also very realistic that AI is not a set it and forget it tool. I'm sure if anybody has attempted that, they've probably been maybe a little disappointed. It does require some maintenance. Obviously, we want to make that as intuitive as it can be for the team. So we're really leaning into that to essentially have it be a tool that you guys utilize more, that you trust to answer these really important conversations for you, and that obviously are really involved in every part of the customer journey, pre-sale all the way to post. So I can't give away too many spoilers because our product team will kill me, but those are kind of the most important things. I will give a little plug in general. We are very, very good about feedback, and I've been here 4.5 years. I feel like I can vouch at this point. If there is something that you think would be a game changer in how you guys are using Gorgeous AI agent, shopping assistant, etc., I'll make sure that my email's here. Happy to always send that along to the team, and maybe if careful what you wish for, but if you're interested, definitely have you enroll in a beta or some early kind of roundtables. Garrett, sorry I had to make a plug there. It felt necessary.
No, I think that was fantastic. As always, we encourage people in the chat to ask questions. I'd be curious to see if anybody's leveraging a lot of these gorgeous things already or interested. I know we have some people in the chat talking about new features and when those become available. So yes, please get involved. And no, definitely a great plug, obviously, for you, Natalie. And yeah, we see that more and more, obviously, is trying to get ahead of the curve. I know that's kind of like a big thing we talk about here in our CXplained webinars, but these new strategies that Gorgias is looking to implement, I think that's a good way to get ahead of the curve. Is obviously just trying to stay ahead of the e-commerce world, top of the cycle, I guess you could say. But for the rest of the people, I'm curious to hear from I guess, a bunch of people from the chat. I guess, what are some of the ways that you guys are seeing e-commerce change, maybe this year in 2026? As I kind of kick over our next question to Heidi, would be curious to hear in the chat who's kind of seeing some big changes and what those look like. But Heidi, I'll go to you to hear a little bit about the change that ShipBob is kind of looking at for 2026. As fulfillment needs to continue to shift as always, I guess what are some of the key changes on, ShipBob's roadmap, I guess, for 2026? We know that e-commerce brands are needing different things in terms of fulfillment these days. Like, how are you ensuring your technology is kind of staying up to par with everything that you have in the e-commerce space?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think our theme and roadmap for this year is really all about helping brands future-proof their fulfillment. So there's a few things I kind of want to highlight. The first being our goal to help brands scale faster, and that's through our expanded network. So this is something that we've continued to do through our carriers, but also our global locations. So just a little plug here, we opened our new FTZ-enabled sites in the Northeast and Midwest. So this gives merchants more ways to defer duties. It improves cash flow, which is really important. And then, of course, reduces those landed costs. And then internationally, we just opened our new FC in Madrid, which is very exciting. It brings 2-day delivery across Southern Europe, which is important to a lot of our merchants there. It just helps brands reach more customers with those local delivery speeds, which is really important if they're entering a new market or that is their main market. And then the second one being the tech and automation. So I mentioned this before, but we're a very tech-driven and tech-forward fulfillment partner. That's what our entire business model was built off of, was our technology and our warehouse management solution. Excuse me. So we're continuing to invest in ShipBob Logistics and really innovate our AI-backed inventory placement program that brands use to distribute their inventory across our entire US network. So we're enhancing those operational efficiencies and automations through something we call fast track receiving. So we can receive and stock inventory within 24 hours to help optimize your inbound logistics for faster and affordable and, of course, more accurate fulfillment. So that's really important to our brands. We heard that, so that's something that we wanted to provide, and it's something that our customers expect at this point. And then last but certainly not least is we're continuing to strengthen our post-purchase and omni-channel experience. So we've launched branded tracking pages so brands can customize that experience post-purchase, and then after checkout, the tracking page is kind of where customers are spending the most time, but brands can lose that engagement from the moment they're redirected to the carrier page. So with those fully custom tracking links, merchants can now fully kind of own that post-purchase experience, reduce the tickets, and of course, with omnichannel, we support over 200 retailers. So making sure that we're providing that is super important. So all of this to say, we're giving merchants more speed, more predictability, and of course, more flexibility through our fulfillment platform.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think stuff is it's great. I like that you threw predictability in there. I think it's always like being able to do things fast is always fantastic, but also being able to anticipate the client's needs or the customer's needs is just something that I think we've really seen separates people in the e-commerce world. I know that there's more and more tech out there, and awesome to see that you guys are kind of diving into yeah, I guess the forward thinking motion, which is pretty cool. Andrew, do you have anything that you wanted to mention from the Talent Pop side?
Um, when it comes to, is this in still in perspective when it comes to fulfillment speed and like the shift on that side, or
Say that again.
no, I was asking Garrett. Is that
Oh.
like the topic we're still talking about here?
Yeah, so like speed,
Yeah,
proactivity, finding ways to, I guess, curate a more predictive.
perfect. I just wanted to confirm that we're on that one. Um, yeah, when it comes to the speed side of things, I mean, from the clients that we work with, speed has always been very important, especially, ever since Amazon released 2-day shipping. I don't think that's something that has changed, but I do think what we're noticing from clients is they really appreciate more flexible fulfillment solutions. There's so many fulfillment providers out there at this time, and I think there's a lot of great things like companies like ShipBob are doing to really differentiate themselves against the competition. And, brands are really looking for that flexibility with fulfillment. I think just optionality in terms of how they're getting products to customers, making sure that they can kind of customize maybe their own shipping settings or adjustments when packages go out. Things that are as small as that really do make a large difference for brands. um, I know that's one thing that we've been seeing a high or higher need for when it comes to the shipping side. Outside of that, um, I would say it's just making sure that, with shipping providers, there's some simple or easy way for a brand to kind of work alongside them. One of the things that I think a lot of brands struggle with when they first move from moving their warehouse internally to externally is that loss of touch between your warehouse and your customer support team. It becomes a little bit more difficult to provide better experiences to your customers in some instances. And I think shipping providers that continue to remain focused on staying in collaboration with the people they're partnered with, whether that is, working with them to address customer issues, listening to their product feedbacks, things like that. Those are all really important things that we're definitely continuing to hear and see from brands that we work with.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, 100%. I think that um, it's a good proactive approach, right? I think it's as much as we try to answer every customer's needs, sometimes the best thing to do is get ahead of it, anticipate it. So, Andrew, thank you for providing a little bit more context from our side of things here. Nigel, want to kick it over to you. Obviously, we want to hear a little bit about Consio. I guess, what are some of the strides you guys have been making in terms of AI-powered voice support for e-commerce brands? Share some of the recent updates that you guys have, new features you've rolled out, and I guess a bigger question is why is it important, and how do they directly address some of these customers' needs in a fast-paced environment?
Yeah, thanks, Garrett. I would say the update that I'm most excited about is improvements to our AI-powered IVR, which sits at the front of every call. So what that is rather than somebody calls your brand and a generic greeting message is played, or they have to wait in queue to speak to somebody, a voice AI answers first and can immediately handle common requests in natural language. So things like product questions and recommendations, order status, return instructions, store policies. For example, if someone asks where their order is, the AI can instantly pull the order status and say it to them, but also take the tracking link and send it to them via SMS, really closing the loop on that interaction. If they want to start a return, it can send the return portal link. If they're asking about a product, the AI in natural language can ask follow-up questions and really zero in on a recommendation and help that person leave confidently with the product that they know is right for them. When a situation requires human support, the AI can escalate the call to a live agent. So if they're whether they're in Consio answering those calls, or perhaps like in Gorgias, we can route to that phone number for them to answer. And then like they also have the full context of the conversation with the AI before the escalation. So the result there and why it's important is brands can, it's made phone support more accessible than ever. You can even offer 24/7 availability without dramatically increasing the operational overhead. So because the AI is handling all of those more routine questions first, brands are typically able to automate 50 to 60% of inbound phone calls while keeping human agents focused on the more complex or revenue driving conversations.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a revenue driving conversations. I'm sure there's a lot of leaders that love to hear those words. Those are some that definitely jump out to me in a time where, you want to drive as much revenue as possible. We want to make sure that our teams are working as efficiently as possible. I definitely see kind of a big way for Consio to get ahead of the game with that, and obviously make sure people are, yeah, jumping into kind of the new changes in e-commerce. Andrew, we'll go back to you here quickly. I guess with TalentPop supporting, 750 different e-commerce brands, I guess what are some key insights in terms of signal shifts that we're seeing in kind of the e-commerce world? I guess how have those
Yeah.
brands evolved, and I guess what are some of the roles and maybe some of the comparisons you've seen from previous years, and what's driving the shift?
Yeah, that's a great question. And there's multiple things that I think we'll be touching on here, but I think the first thing I'd like to kind of start off with is just more unique shifts in terms of who and how brands are hiring is definitely one big shift that we're seeing. Um, outside of brands traditionally, uh, with Talent Pop looking for customer service agents, your typical go-to individuals for our services. We definitely have a lot of brands that we work with very closely, asking for more specific niche roles, customer success managers, customer service managers for their entire team. And we've identified the need to help our clients with that. We've always done our best in the past to kind of offer one-on-one recruitment for that. And it's always kind of been whenever we need it, we do it type of thing. But on our side, we've really noticed that there has been a really large shift for brands looking to hire more strategic members, especially as customer service, in the future becomes more automated. They're kind of seeing like, hey, even though we are saving money here, right? Let's not take our foot off the gas completely and take that money and figure out where else can we leverage that person's salary in our business to make a strategic hire. And with those strategic hires, people need help. And it's one thing that we've really been trying to make a shift in 2026 is creating a more formalized bespoke recruitment process. It's actually something that we're in the current process of setting up internally right now. I would say that's probably the biggest shift. Outside of that, um, I mean, I would say that's the biggest one. Outside of that, proactiveness, doing things to just continue to provide personalization and support is always going to win. Doing things to help reduce returns or client churn is always going to be a win. So I don't think it's like, the shift that we're seeing is brands might be doing a little less hiring sometimes on the customer service side of things, but they're taking, that revenue that they would have spent there and realizing, hey, I can actually push harder on the gas now, and I'm going to go and make a more strategic hire. And I think that's really been something that has been impactful for our brands, and we're making sure we're in a position and set up to help them.
Absolutely. Yeah, very interesting to hear, I guess, the way that more bespoke recruitment option is kind of being talked about this year. I know that hiring is always kind of, I guess, a challenge or something that teams have to figure out in different ways. And I think getting a more introspective look at how we can hire good people, how all those teams can work together, right? I think that's going to be a big, kind of a big push this year in the e-commerce world. And I'd be curious to hear from anybody in the chat, I guess, how do you combat some of those hiring opportunities? And how do you guys hire within the e-commerce world? Has that been a struggle for you guys, or have you guys been able to find success there? So very interesting. Thank you, Andrew, for kind of providing us a little more context there. Going to open it back up to the floor here, but kind of another question. As we look ahead to 2026, I guess how can we, cross-functional teams like CX, marketing, fulfillment, all of these different teams use customer data to already have work more effectively together? I guess how do we get them to work more effectively together? And also, what steps should brands be taking to ensure teams are aligned on the same page and also using kind of the same customer journey this year?
I can jump in because I want to plug Gorgeous a little bit and how our teams work together. But when we talk about collaboration across these roles, I think integrations are the most pivotal and at the foundation of that. And that's why having your tools fully connected is so critical. So, like I said, when ShipBob integrates with platforms like a Gorgeous and a Klaviyo, teams get that real-time visibility without needing to chase down answers. So the CX agents in Gorgeous can instantly see ShipBob fulfillment data to resolve those tickets. And then marketing teams in Klaviyo, for example, can trigger those proactive campaigns based on fulfillment events like delivery confirmations and inventory shortages. So I think, teams can only work together effectively when they're all looking at the same customer and the same order status and delivery promise. So that's why we're reliant on the experts in the space, like the Gorgeous of the world, so they can balance out what we do really well with what they do really well.
Heidi, I was going to say thank you so much. You kind of took my thing. I'm literally going to sprinkle stuff on top of it. Absolutely. So I think a lot of times we're almost our own worst enemy, and that has happened even at Gorgias. Like there's a lot of teams, a lot of little like kind of buckets all living in their day to day very differently. And I don't think CX is any different. So if you think about it, at least in meetings I've gone to in my career, I will not sell out Gorgias. We're pretty good about this. But in general, marketing has come to the table and they're like, hey, this is what we see the problem. Fulfillment has this bucket of what they're looking at. CX has their bucket of things that they're sharing, and nothing is talking to one another when it's a very easy solve. So the whole goal of Gorgias even initially was to bring everything in one place, right? Like I reiterated in the beginning, all the channels in one place. And then what we did was essentially build upon that with tons of app integrations. Obviously, Heidi had a perfect example of exactly how that works so seamlessly. So even outside of the actual interactions themselves, you're getting all of these apps that, yes, talk to each other in their own little silos, but connected in one home base. And there you're able to tell one very comprehensive story that talks about browsing behavior, order history, loyalty status, shipping events, return behavior, even just like channel breakdown of which channels they use the most to get in contact. All of that data is in one place. And I think if the takeaway that you get from me in this meeting is really just talk to other teams, I don't think I can reiterate that enough. Most of the time, this information is present. It's just a matter of getting everybody on the same page. And obviously, if you have a tech stack that leans really into that kind of functionality, it's very simple to do. And it's not another obstacle you need to think about on top of it.
Yeah. I think this is such an interesting question, and I'm going to kind of go down a rabbit hole that's a little, I shouldn't say off topic, but like if you are a successful business owner in this meeting, you know one thing and one thing only is that a successful business is built off one thing, and that is data. That is it. That's literally the only thing it's built off of. And and a good product, I like. And we are in this beautiful time where it is more possible forever than your CX team that has no clue what the marketing team is doing, that has no clue what the fulfillment team is doing, that has no clue what these other teams are doing to all be in sync, especially with their data. And it's such an opportunity that can be so transformational for your business because if you've never been a tech savvy owner before, you don't know how to run Excel, you don't know how to create these Looker Studios and create these fancy dashboards, it's not an issue. All you need to know how to do is literally download a CSV file. If you can download a CSV file, I see Nigel shaking his head. He knows where I'm going with this. If you can download a CSV file with the data from your CX team, your marketing team, any other teams that you have, you can take this data, dump it into Claude Code, ask it to run analysis off of this data, and you can actually transform this data and put your teams into positions where now they can interact with each other and leverage each other's data to identify, opportunities that would not have been identified before. Instead of, the CX team just identifying, oh, there's a 34% increase in returns, right? We can get even more detail. Why was there a 34% increase in returns? If you set up the proper systems in the proper data places and set, you'll be able to see that you had a 34% increase in returns because, this one shipping carrier is consistently damaging your products, right? Because they're not loading it correctly. And that's just a very basic generalization. But what I'm getting to is that it is more possible now than ever for your teams to work with each other and to leverage this data. And the only, barrier that I see is creativity. Like what are the possibilities of what you need to be created? What are the things that you want to understand about your clients? And if you can drill this into your team members and just show them a very simple tutorial about how to set up Claude Code, you can watch a 1 hour YouTube video and get that thing set up, and then you're just chatting to it like it's Chat GPT. It can transform your business. So it's a little off the topic, I think off the path of what I would traditionally say, but I do think it's very important to share with everyone that has taken time out of their day on this call, because it's super powerful.
Absolutely. And I can jump in last and share a little bit more perspective along the lines of what Andrew has just mentioned, and a huge opportunity for brands to gain insights from data is by using your support interactions as really the voice of your customer and aggregating those to surface real insights. So like every ticket, whether it comes from chat, email, a phone call, big plus to what Natalie and Heidi were saying about integrations. You can really understand what customers are confused about, what they're considering buying, and where friction exists in that journey. So marketing can understand which product questions are preventing conversion. Operations can see where maybe shipping issues, like Andrew mentioned, are generating friction. Merchandising can identify where our product pages aren't answering key questions that customers have before they buy. And phone is especially powerful here because it's the literal voice of your customer. You can go to that recording and like listen to the actual conversation and hear their frustration when they talk about it's super difficult to figure out what necklace size I need, or which supplement is right for me given my dietary restrictions. What adds a really interesting layer to this type of voice of the customer feedback is layering in this outbound support that we've talked about a little bit, right? Every brand can take their inbound support inquiries and gain insights today. But what's been really powerful for merchants using Consio is after calls with people who went to your site for the first time and abandoned a checkout and never purchased and never submitted a support ticket, and having a real conversation with them that might last 5 minutes, 10 minutes or more. And they're telling you so much useful information about what led them to express interest on your site, but ultimately close out that window and move on. And over time, with enough of those conversations, you're going to convert a lot of them, but you're also going to uncover some key insights that can then improve your buyer experience for everyone thereafter.
I'd love to jump in really quick. You guys are probably sick and tired of me, but Chris asked a really good question of how this works. And I would love to give a really short story on an example of somebody using the data that they were literally sitting on to solve a bigger problem. So real quick, there was a brand that we had worked with. We still work with them for a very long time. Thank you, Andrew. We had worked with them for a very long time, and their CX team was noticing that one of their best-selling products all of a sudden was getting 1 million return requests. Obviously, I'm exaggerating, but they were getting much more return requests than they ever were before. Nobody could figure it out. Everybody's like, well, the product page hasn't changed. The product itself hasn't changed. Nobody has any idea why all of a sudden this is an issue. And the feedback that they're getting, that they're tracking via their tickets. So they, in this case, they were using ticket fields. They were also tracking, like with tags, what the outcome of these things were. Essentially, they pulled a report at the end of a few months and they're like, okay, all of a sudden, from 1 month to the next, triple the returns for this product. What is going on? When they finally had the wherewithal to kind of take a step back, which again, you're so in it, sometimes it's easier said than done, they realized that they had actually moved some things in their warehouse to where now this one product, a few weeks before this started coming in, had literally moved locations on a physical shelf in their warehouse and now is getting a lot more exposure to sun and was diluting the product. So the quality had actually decreased once they had actually put the timeline together of when the orders were purchased and fulfilled with what was going on their fulfillment side, all to put together this story that as soon as they just moved it back, all of those faded away and the problem was solved.
Wow.
So it's comical, real story. But it's little things like that. You're probably sitting on information that once you kind of take a step back and you look at all the other things that go into placing an order and getting it to the actual customer, and you have that data sitting there. Kudos, I have seen what TalentPop has built with like custom reporting. It's incredible. So definitely have a chat talk with Andrew if that is applicable. But it's things like that that really put together a larger piece of kind of what is going to help the brand succeed. So I use my little soap story as an example, but it is a real thing.
Wow. That is data, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, but yeah, that those are the ways that you can obviously take that information and truly kind of set yourself up for success. That's a real story, like that's applicable to everybody. And I think those are always helpful to take to management or whoever it is, right? And show these applicable things that are able to kind of push the business forward and then also show value, right? I think there's a lot of value in having that information as well. So we're gonna do some fun rapid fire AI questions because I'm sure everybody on this call has heard about AI quite a bit. But we do have a couple of questions for everybody on AI. Natalie, I'll kind of kick it over to you first. Maybe your 1 minute synopsis here, and I guess just how AI agent is ensuring massive brands, resolve customer inquiries quickly, but also not sacrificing, I guess, the personalization and kind of the customer expectations.
I will definitely go fast. I am not a big speed person. I do not think speed necessarily makes something great. If you ever talk to somebody and the minute you lay your heart out and they say, okay, really quick, you will realize that speed has
Oh,
nothing to
wow.
do with it. It drives me nuts. So I feel the
Oh,
same way about AI. I don't think it's a speed thing. I think one thing that Gorgias does really well about ensuring that it is the same quality as a human agent is we don't send responses unless we're 100% behind it. So a lot of times, and I have heard kind of this being echoed by some of our merchants. They're like, oh, it handed over to an agent and we wanted it to be handled, by AI if an agent wasn't online at the moment. And it's that their actual guidances and their instructions were not set up properly. But we know that there's only one chance to make a first impression. So if our AI bot in this instance is not 100% confident that the response is going to be aligned with the brand's policies, voice, and give an accurate answer, it will leave it to the expert. So I think that speaks really highly to just making sure, yes, it's firing, but is it firing in a way that's helping and not hurting your really kind of one time to shine, especially if it's a first time customer.
Wow. I love that. That's going to stick with me right there. Helping, not hurting. I think that's definitely something that is going to stick with me for in terms of AI responses and speed, of course. Heidi, let's transition over to you quickly with some AI questions. Obviously, we know in the logistics world, AI has proven to be kind of a game changer in speeding up fulfillment, delivery efficiency, expectations, all of those things. I guess how is ShipBob kind of leveraging AI to help these e-commerce brands, not only fulfill orders fast, but kind of take that speed up, that personalization up, and then also balance kind of all the customization that a fulfillment process requires?
Yeah, great question. I think, it's of course embedded and focused on efficiencies, but it's also focused on accuracy and planning for us. So that's really something that we're focused on within our network. So automation is kind of the backbone of what we're doing throughout our warehouse management system specifically. So it runs across our real-time inventory tracking across multiple locations, fulfillment rules, batch picking capabilities to kind of nerd out a little bit, optimizing workflows, all of those things. But specifically, something that I mentioned before was our IPP or inventory placement program. And that is powered by our AI decision engine. So that pulls information from our demand forecasting algorithms and data trends by SKU, and uses the forecasting model to account for seasonality, and it provides the real-time sales data for brands. So all of that fun stuff. But by leveraging this model, those brands can automate and distribute inventory to ensure their products are always stocked wherever they are needed to be, and whatever SKU is performing or outperforming each other. So very cool stuff.
Mhm.
I love it. Yeah. I also love the seasonality approach as well. I mean, us more than ever, kind of in the customer service world, like seasonality is huge, right? We know that the Q3, Q4, we're kind of just holding on for dear life, trying to make sure everybody's happy. So, yes, the seasonality approach obviously is a big one as well. Totally understand how that could play a big factor and appreciate you kind of giving us a little 2 cents there. Nigel, of course, we know Consio's AI voice agent is designed to handle 24/7 calls, be on the clock all the time, with human-like voice. I guess, how does Consio balance kind of that AI-driven speed and the voice support, but also staying personalized and having good conversation with some of your customers?
Yeah, I think when you consider implementing voice AI for your phone support, it's really easy to just think about it from the brand's perspective in like reducing or deflecting some of those tickets. But when it comes to the shopper's experience and the person calling in, where it really adds value to them is speed and personalization. So most people have experience calling, whether it's like a brand, your airline, whatever you're calling in for customer support and getting stuck in that IVR dial tree menu, sitting on hold, going to voicemail. Like that's the experience that can really frustrate customers at times. And so voice AI can really replace those layers where instead of navigating menus, they're simply saying what they need in natural language. They're getting answers quickly. If it's after hours and the team isn't available, you can route to a separate agent for after hours. It says like, hey, our team is going to be back online at 9 o'clock tomorrow, but what can I help you with in the meantime? Or can I schedule them to reach out when they're back? So that's like a much speedier time to resolution by implementing voice AI. And it's not just like, hey, I'm going to implement voice to deflect things. It's like, how can we be more available, more responsive to buyers? And on the personalization front, making sure that like your voice AI can actually match your brand tone. So one really fun example we have at Consio, we work with Cheech and Chong. So if anyone's familiar with the TV show from the 90s, they've actually got a D2C brand right now on Shopify. And when their customers call in, we have Cheech. We cloned his voice. So they greet him. He greets their customers in a very familiar voice that's really fun, but can also be very useful and give them instant access to answers.
I love that.
That is That is epic. That makes me immediately want to give them a call, which I think that's exactly maybe what that's intended to do. So I think that's fantastic. Obviously, yeah, we know that there's a ton of stuff with Consio that they're able to, help with that 24/7 support. I know that getting stuck in those trees is not always the most fun thing to deal with as well. So no, Nigel, thank you for kind of jumping in there quickly. And then Andrew, kind of kicking over to you, obviously. AI from a side of TalentPop working with 750 different brands. I guess what are have you seen are some of the big success stories with, I mean, factoring implementation, right? Because that's mostly what we're doing. For those brands that are still struggling with AI adoption, we know that there are some trying to catch up. I guess how do we kind of help them and lift them up?
Yeah. Um, so when it comes to that side of things, I think one core common thing we tend to see with some of our clients that come to us and they're like, dude, I use this AI thing. It didn't really work. It said that it was going to do these things and like it just didn't end up doing it. And then you ask them like, what'd you do? How much time you spent into it? And they're like, well, I did it for 4 hours. And it's like, oh, so you thought 4 hours of implementation was going to take care of your entire guide. Um, and I think there's still a very large population of people that kind of have a skewed reality about like what the AI will be able to do as of right now until these tools are like continuing to like train themselves. There was one comment earlier, somebody said it'd be really cool if the AI could train itself on like how to update the macro, right? Like until that happens, realistically, you're always going to be in a position where even though we have these great AI tools. Sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought on that second. But even though we have these Garrett, what was the question again? I'm sorry to ask and stop for.
No, no, you're good. I guess just the big one for us was, how do we help these companies catch up with AI adoption with
Yes, thank you.
implementation, right?
Sorry, I was going in one direction, then I got fully sidetracked. But what I was saying is, it's not enough to spend very little amount of time setting this up. You need to have a full team behind you that is either set this up for multiple clients, is, kind of putting these different tests and these different plays into place, right? Nigel mentioned this really cool idea about building out this custom Cheech and Chong voice, when you call in, right? And what it kind of ties into is another portion of things that I want to talk into is just making sure you have a proper team in place to help you, not only in implementing these tools, but maintaining these tools. 4 hours is not enough time for implementation, and it is going to take a lot more time until we do get to a place where the AI is just generating itself and making everything better. Um, where it's fully autonomous, there's going to be needing to be continued support in making updates, making adjustments, making changes. And I think that the brands that come to us that have not necessarily seen success so far, it's not because you can't find success. It's just it takes a lot more effort than one entails. Everyone can use ChatGPT, but not everyone gets the same results. It's more or less the same framework. And I feel one thing that we've been able to really help with on the Talent Pop side of things is guiding our clients through that process and really making sure we can help to set up this initial infrastructure for them. And I think that's so important because the brands that continue to wait, I know there's some of y'all in here that said on January 1st, I'm going to start doing this thing with the AI. I'm going to start doing this thing January 1st. Look at the date. It's March 11th. We're in the same spot. You haven't started anything. I'm not saying this to rag on you. I get it, right? Life gets busy. And that's really where I do think having, strong agency partners like even Talent Pop, and this isn't just to like boast ourselves, but I really mean this. It's vital for brands to get this stuff set up. And if that means working with an agency or whatever it is, like go and do it. Don't think it doesn't work just because you didn't have success with it. Sometimes you just need to try a different formula. That's all.
I love it. Sometimes you just need to try a different formula. There you go. Maybe you're doing the right thing, but you're not putting it into the right
Yeah,
X or Y. I love that.
absolutely. Absolutely.
That's
Well
I
said.
believe it. Well, fantastic, guys. We're gonna finish here with a little motivational close. We love to do these. We're gonna make each one of these people go around. I'm gonna give you 10 seconds to think of it. But I guess what's one piece of advice or a phrase? I'd like to get you guys to a sentence. What's one sentence or phrase you guys could leave the people with here today to keep everybody motivated, and obviously ready to conquer the e-commerce world here in 2026?
Oh,
Should I go?
You
yeah, hit
should.
it.
Hey, I would say use AI with intention. Start with project, give it guardrails, scale it so your team can focus and create meaningful experiences that your customers will remember.
I like it.
Heidi, I can follow up there. My sentence would be Andrew inspired, I guess. Um, Take the time on your actual tools that you take with training your human agents. There's much a part of the team, and there needs to be time dedicated to them so you actually get your money's worth and the benefits from it.
I would say draw inspiration from the types of service that you see at brick and mortar stores like Home Depot. They've got a few people who are maybe behind a service desk doing returns, doing warranty stuff. The rest are walking around with those orange aprons, greeting customers, representing the brands, helping them find what they need, and helping them complete their purchase with confidence. And that's the experience that I think can be brought to modern CX with AI helping.
I like it. Andrew, do you have a phrase for us?
I don't know if it's a phrase, but it's definitely gonna give some people some motivation. Um, this is kind of like a little tough, but I'm here to motivate you guys, give you guys a little pep. Um, you guys, it's not that you're incapable. It's just that, you need help. It's not that you're busy. It's just that, you need direction. And when it comes to some of these tools, some of these things, if you guys are struggling for it, do not feel embarrassed. Don't feel shy. It is okay to be confused by these things. It's okay to ask for help. I know you go on Twitter, you log in, you see these 17-year-old kids creating Cal AI and selling it for $250 million and never having to work another day in their lives. And you're like, dude, I can't get this thing to work. What's wrong with me? Don't be ashamed. Like there's nothing wrong with it, right? It's one of those things where the most important thing is recognizing that a change needs to be made and making sure that that change happens. So don't let your you know, continued desires to prevent you from progressing forward. If you continue to find yourself in a position where you are struggling to make the changes that you want to make, and you do think that having an agency can be an accountability partner, go ahead, test it out. Worst comes to worst, most of us, pretty much all of us do month to month. So it's really one of those things where it's like, give it a shot, go do the thing, but please, the only thing I can say is stop waiting, go do it. Please, do it for yourself.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Andrew, for your one sentence. That was fantastic.
Yeah, definitely
We
more than
really
one.
appreciate it as always, Andrew, giving us kind of the motivation we need here on this fantastic Wednesday. Ladies and gentlemen, we are just about at time here, a couple minutes over. Thank you guys so much for joining today. We're very grateful to have all these amazing panelists. Please, panelists, feel free to drop your emails in the chat so everybody can ask all of those amazing questions to you guys. Again, we host these every month, so super excited to have our next one getting set up here shortly. The e-commerce brands that will win 2026 again are going to be the ones that have that proactive side to them. If you want to request that free CX audit, again, I'm going to throw that up one more time here, and also keep a follow-up or an eye out for our follow-up email. It will be included here very shortly. I'm going to share this, but thank you guys again for joining, and you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much.
Have a
Thanks so
great day.
much. Bye,
Thank you, guys.
everybody.
See you, everyone.